morning, Flosstube. Today is Monday, November 30th, and we have snow. Lovely snow. So I have to work today, but before that, I thought I would do a quick little Flosstube update. So good morning, everyone. What are you at? Here to do a little Flosstube update. I have managed to finish my dad's boat. It's like, hallelujah. I managed to finish that. I got it done last week. Yeah, last week. So I finished it last Friday night, early Saturday morning. I actually had to go to my parents for the night. I went out to visit and thought I was on a roll trying to get it finished before I had left that day. And I got so close to getting it finished. So I said, frig it. I'll take it with me and I will, finish it at their house tonight. Of course, I had to wait until my father went to bed so that he wouldn't see it because he still doesn't have any idea that I'm working on it. So I was up till 2 o'clock that morning finishing it. But it is done. It is done. Done, done, done. I will insert a photo so you can actually see the finished stitch. But it is currently at the framers. I dropped it off. When did I drop it off? This is Monday. I dropped it off on Friday. I dropped it off on Friday. And they told me it would be ready by next week. So it'll be ready next Friday. Or this Friday, actually. This Friday. So she said it would only take her a week at the most. I'm not having them actually frame it. I'm going to frame it myself. But I am getting them to stretch it and mat it properly. I got a lovely double mat picked out and all of that. So they're going to do that for me. So I'm really pleased about that. So yeah, I have an almost FFO. So the next time you see that piece, he will have it because his birthday's in a week and a half. His birthday's on the 12th of December. So the next time you see that, it will be in his hands. So that's that. Next thing, I'm going to talk about a couple of things in this video. I want to talk about my current whips, the state that they're currently in, because I had stopped stitching on anything that wasn't Dad's boat project in an effort to try and finish Dad's boat. And so I've had no progress on any of my pieces. So I was, oh my God, I was itching to stitch on something other than that boat. So stitching bug is full on rage. I'm just stitching away. I've developed a bit of a whip rotation, something I never thought I would have, but I do have a couple of whips on the go now. And I'm not the type to have too many things on the go at one time, but I do like a few things for variety. But I'm also not the type of person that likes to pick something up and then not finish it. That drives me nuts. Nuts. So I said, I'll do a whip rotation. That way I get to work on each piece every week. And instead of doing my whip rotation like on a Monday to Sunday, like a 7-day week, and switch every Sunday or switch every Monday, what have you, I'm actually doing my whip rotation based on my work schedule. My work schedule is 4 days on, 4 days off. I do 2 days shifts, 2 night shifts, and then 4 days off. So I figure at the beginning of my 4 days off, each of my first days off, I will switch to a different whip. So that way I get to work on it for my 4 days that I'm off, and then I get to pick at it during the 4 days that I'm working. And then when I start my next round of 4 days off, I'll switch to a different whip. So my rotation will actually be an 8-day rotation. I also have a secondary whip plan, and that's for my work piece, because I have a piece that I take that's an on-the-go piece that I usually have in my work bag that I can work on, during my lunch breaks, that sort of thing. The piece that I have as my work piece will not be in my regular whip rotation, at home whip rotation. So that'll be a separate piece. So my plan is to have like 4 whips ongoing at home that I can rotate through, and then a whip for work that I can work on at work steadily until it's done, and then take another piece to work. So that's how my plan is going to be for this year. So I want to talk a bit about that. I want to talk a bit about my current whips. I want to talk a bit about some UFOs. I don't have many UFOs because it drives me nuts not to finish something, but I do have a couple, and I want to get those into my whip rotation this year. I cannot speak this morning. I'm choking on my coffee. I can't speak. I can't drink. I don't know what's going on with me. Okay. So my plans are, I don't even know where I was now. Okay. So current whips, I want to talk about those. UFOs, I have a couple of those I want to work into my rotation. And I want to talk about my plans for 2016. Because that's only like 4.5 weeks away, 5 weeks away. Oh my gosh, where has the time gone? I had to get my Christmas shopping done. It's like madness here. Okay, so, current whips. I already told you about Dad's whip. Done, put to bed, finished, finito. So, current whips. And I have a new start. Because, like I said, stitching bug, raging. I had to put a new start in, so I'm going to talk about that as well. I have those in my cases here. This is my case that I keep all of my whips in. I just fold them up and lay them in here. So my whip rotation, I have 2 pieces that are full coverage pieces. And I currently have 2 pieces that I want to concentrate on that are not full coverage. So, how my whip rotation is going to work is, let's talk about my new start first because that is one of them. This is my new start. If you follow me on Instagram or anything, you would have seen this already. You can probably figure out what it is based on my green fabric. It is my dun 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 Monopoly board. Yay! I'm so pleased I started this. This is, I love it. I love it. Thank you to some lovely ladies. I ended up getting my hands on a copy of the original chart from like 1984 or 85. This is not the original chart. I did chart this myself. I used the chart to kind of help me figure out the placement of the symbols and that sort of thing. But anybody who has the chart, you can compare it. It is different. I used it to help with some of the design aspects of the symbols, but then I changed a whole bunch of stuff with it, so it's not the same. And I also am making this huge. As you can see, this piece is actually going to be a little over 2 feet by 2 feet. So it's a little bigger than 24 by 24. It's more like maybe 26 by 26. I have a big, huge square coffee table in my family room downstairs where we hang out and watch movies together and all of that. This is going to get mounted under glass on that coffee table. My husband's going to, because he's a really good woodworker, he's going to route the table so I can actually mount this on press, that squishy foam core board. I can actually pin this and mount it properly and set it into the coffee table so it's flush with the top. And then we're going to put a glass top over that. And there'll be so we'll have this with a bit of the green showing around, say like that. And then there'll be like wood coffee table around the outside of that. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about this because I did chart it myself. I'm doing the outline in 2 rows of black. And this is just regular DMC black. I'm doing it over 1 on 14 count Aida. I didn't mind using Aida for this because it is such a large piece and it's not, you know, even though it's not full coverage, but I wanted that kind of handmade, homemade look to it. I didn't want it to look like I had mounted a Monopoly board underneath glass. Like when you look at it, I wanted you to tell it was a homemade thing. The lettering, I just did that freehand. I'm not pleased with the placement of this. I think I'm going to rip this last line out and shift it back a few spaces. Or I may just leave it there. I mean, it's handmade. What odds, right? The luxury tax. I think the original diamond ring on the original chart was done in DMC colors, and it was done white for the diamond. This was all stitched in white as well, like this was all filled in white. And then the ring itself was stitched with gold color DMC floss, like yellow floss. I actually changed it. I don't know if you can see it in this light, but I used Krennic, some gold Krennic, so the ring is actually quite blinged out. And I left this open because it didn't look right to me to have this filled in. It just looks odd. And then you can't really pick it up there, but you can see it's like the top of the ring actually has, yeah, I can't get it to pick it up. There's a little bit of blending filament in this white at the top. No, it's not going to pick it up. But there's a little bit of blending filament in that. So the top of the ring has a little bit of sparkle in it as well. So that's as far as I got on that one. I would have gotten further, only. I'll show you why. Can you see that? Can you see how this material is cut? Can you see that? It's cut crooked. It's cut not straight. I started stitching this and left myself a couple of inches here. I started to stitch, actually you can see the line there, look, where I started stitching it, and I pulled it back out. See that? I started stitching it like down here to give myself lots of space. And I started working my way across, and I was on my Q-snap. So my Q-snap was straight, like if you look at the fabric being straight, okay? I was on my Q-snap, and this, I was stitching it, and I was going downhill on my Q-snap. I was like, why is I'm stitching straight, I'm not missing lines, why is my stitching going downhill on my Q-snap? I took it out of the Q-snap, and had a good look at the fabric, and the fabric is actually cut on an angle. So there are less stitches on this side, there's less space on this side than there is on this side. So what was going to happen was, I was going to have enough space here, I would have worked all the way across, it would have ended up like down here, because it's on an angle. And then what would have happened was, I would have worked down the side, and I wouldn't have had enough space at the bottom. I was so disgusted. I was mortified. I was like, what am I going to do? Luckily, I had only had the black border stitched across so far before I noticed it. So what I did was I ripped out those stitches. I remeasured. I pulled it up enough on this side so that as I'm working down on this side, I will still have enough space. I have counted and recounted and put, I don't know if you can see it, little dots on my fabric so I know this is where I am going to end on this side, so I still have plenty of space there. I've done everything. So it's now on here properly. So yeah, but I was so disgusted. Like, this was a piece of fabric that I bought actually at Michael's, It came in a tube. I hemmed it because it was fraying. I did hem it evenly. Like, as you can see, it's hemmed evenly. I didn't fold too much fabric on one piece. Like, it's hemmed straight. Well, it's hemmed straight according to where it was cut. But yeah, so I was kind of disgusted. And I had already hand dyed this fabric myself for this project. So I did not want to go ahead and throw this out and dye another piece of fabric. So I just ripped out the stitches and remeasured and figured it out. So this is going to be whip number 1. So that's how much work I got done on it this week. Whip number 2, second round of my rotation, is going to be Record Girls. I'll insert a picture of where she was the last time you saw her. And this is her now. I'm not going to bother taking her at the Q-step because this is my current whip. I just took this off of my stand actually, so I could show it. So this is where I am now. I actually finished this. I was working across here, and I actually finished a page, and I have now moved on to another page since you guys saw it last. So I'm going to continue to work across, and then I'll work down. So I got all my threads tucked inside my grime guard so they don't get all messed up and dirty and stuff. And that's where she currently is. So this is going to be whip number 2. I'm really still enjoying this piece. I like the fact that the colors are really vibrant. Yeah, I love it. And there is some stitching up underneath here, but like I said, I'm not going to take it out of the Q-snap to show it there, but yeah. So that's where Record Girls is. So that's going to be whip number 2 in my rotation. So I figured I'd go, you know, not full coverage, full coverage. My next whip is then not full coverage. And this is, for anyone who may be following me on Instagram, is the 12 Days of Christmas. 12 Days of Christmas. Plum Street Samplers have put out a 12 Days of Christmas stitch-along. And I'm actually decided that I would do this cross stitch, or one of the cross stitch groups I'm in, Cross Stitch Canada, I want to say. Well, it's called X Stitch Canada. It's for Canadian stitchers. They started a Christmas sale on the 14th of November. And so I decided I would do this piece as my Christmas sale because I did want to start something that's Christmassy, because I didn't have any. I've never done, other than maybe a couple of ornaments, I've never done an actual Christmas piece. And I fell in love with this sal. I thought it was so cute. So it's called the 12 Days of Christmas. It's designed from it's a design done by Paula Stewart from Plum Street Samplers. You can check out their blog, and each Sunday she's releasing a new square in the pattern. And I don't want to show the chart, but you might be able to see it through the page there a little bit. You can get so this is what she releases, just one square. I'll hold it way back here. She releases one square and each Sunday. So this is where I've gotten, and it wasn't very much because, again, I started this when I was still in the midst of doing Dad's boat, and I didn't want to waste any time stitching something else. So this will be the third piece in my rotation now until it is finished. And I'm doing this on, what am I doing this on? 28 count even weave, 2 threads over 2. So I'm doing it 2 over 2. And that's the color red I've chosen. The nice thing about the sampler is you can choose any colors you like. The sampler is done in red and green, and that's the color red I've chosen. So that's where I am with that piece. Again, not very much done, but just enough to get a start in. So when I'm done with Record Girls now in a couple of days, on my next round of days off, I will be switching to this, and we'll see how much I can get accomplished on that for a week. So I'll work on this sampler for a week. And then my last piece right now in my whip rotation is my Haid, because that's a full coverage piece, obviously. My Haid is a Christmas Carol, and I'm stitching this on 25 count Lugana, white Lugana, and I have had no progress on this since you've seen it last, but where is it? The top part, here it is. But I will show it to you anyway. So when my Christmas sampler rotation is done, when I've finished that 8 days, I will then be into this one. This will bring me up to coming into Christmas then. So this will be a nice piece to work on at Christmas time as well, because it's a Christmas Carol. I'm doing this on 25 count Lugana. I'm doing it 1/1. And I'm quite pleased with the coverage, actually. The coverage is pretty good. There's a stitch missing there. One little stitch of one color that wasn't called for anywhere else in this area. So yeah, so that is where I am with that. I love the daintiness of this. I love I didn't know if I would like stitching the 1/1, but I am really enjoying that. So this one's done 1/1 on 25. So that's going to be my 4th piece in my rotation until something is finished. I suspect my 12 days of Christmas sampler will be finished in a very short amount of time. So I already have a piece picked that I want to start when that one is finished, because X Stitch Canada is also having another sale the 1st of January, and that is for a Canadian sale. It's for anything done by a Canadian designer or a Canadian themed piece that you can stitch. So I have a Canadian piece because, as I mentioned in a previous video, there's an artist from here in Newfoundland. His name is Adam Young, who does some beautiful work. I've fallen in love with his art, and one of his pieces in particular is called Quiet Frost, and I wanted to stitch that. I sent him a message, asked him his permission to turn it into a chart. He wrote me back and said, yes, absolutely, go right ahead. I'd love to see your progress. Show me pictures of what it looks like when it's stitched up. So I'm actually going to do a piece of his artwork for the Canadian sale. That starts on January 1st. So even though January 1st I may be into the middle of something else in my rotation, I will at least start that piece. My plan is to do Quiet Frost in Continental tent stitch. I've never done a piece in tent stitch before. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. I don't know if I'm going to hate it. Like my Haid is done in full X's, full crosses. I love cross stitch. I love the finishing, like the completing of every stitch. I don't know how I'm going to like tent stitch, but I'm going to give it a go. Because again, that's another full coverage piece, and I'll already have my Haid and my Record Girls, which I know won't be finished in January. So I don't want to start another 3rd piece that's going to be full coverage, full crosses. So I'm going to do it as tent stitch. Hopefully I'll see a progress a lot quicker, and I will probably do it on a small count of fabric with a higher thread count, so that I can still get the same amount of coverage, but only doing a Continental tent stitch. So that's my plan for that. So we'll start in January. So that's going to bring me into, so that's my current whip rotation. I'm going to concentrate on those 4. Then I have a couple of pieces, like I said, that are my work pieces. My first work piece, so that's my rotation at home. So every 8 days I will rotate my piece at home. At work, I am currently finishing my nephew's Clouds Factory Doctor Who piece, and I didn't bring that up out of my work bag to show you. I'm at the last bit. I'm just finishing the TARDIS. Again, I put that to one side as well while I was working on Dad's birthday present. So it's not much left to finish with that. I'll have that done in plenty of time for Christmas. I'll finish that up probably this week at work. So I'm doing that. Once that one's finished, I will then go back to this one. I'm doing, back in October, the 1st of October, Stitch Mania had a Halloween sale. Well, actually, it wasn't a Halloween sale. It was like a Queen of the Raven sort of sale. And if you weren't doing Queen of the Ravens, you could do anything else that was Halloween themed, or I guess that was the premise of it. I started an Edgar Allan Poe sampler, which I absolutely love. I think it looks amazing. So when my Clouds Factory piece is finished, this is going to become my piece that I take back and forth to work. And this is all I have done right now on it. This is it. So it's just the bottom of the tree and a little bit of the sunset in the background. Because I have not touched this since the sale started, the 1st of October. So I will be working on this piece as my work piece come the next couple of weeks. So this will turn into my work piece. When this is finished, I will then pick a different piece that's easy to stitch on, that's not full coverage or something that I can work on at work. Plans for 2016. So 2016 is going to be a focus on finishes for me, with a couple of starts thrown in. I do not want to have oodles of starts and no finishes. And I also have to be careful not to do too many full coverage pieces, because I'm a go big or go home kind of girl. You know, I love full coverage. I love huge pieces. I love big things to stitch. I'll stitch them on tiny count fabric, but I like the end result to be a nice substantial piece. So I am going to do a couple of new starts in 2016. Quiet Frost is going to be one of them. That's starting for that sale January 1st. And then later in the year, as I finish something in my rotation and I want to start something new, I'm going to slip in a few of the charts that my husband got me while he was away in New Brunswick last month, because I really want to do some of those Prairie Schooler pieces. They're so cute. I just love their designs. One of the other items that I have plans to start for this year is the Prairie Schooler alphabet. I've had that in my stash for a little while now. I want to do it as one huge piece. Jan from Thread Garden, I think she's called on Flosstube, Thread Garden. She is doing the Prairie Schooler alphabet, I think on a 36 count over 2, and she has it on one huge piece, and it looks amazing. It looks gorgeous. I think her plan is to do it as some sort of table runner, but it just looks phenomenal. Go check her out on Flosstube if you haven't. Jan from Thread Garden. Stitching is just amazing. Anywho, so that's my plan. I want to start that at some point in 2016, but until then, everything else is going to be a focus to finish. So I'm going to work through my rotations in 2016 and finish each piece as I'm going. As each piece finish, I'm going to slip in something else that I want to work on. There's a couple of designs that I want to do that I started and got thrown down and I never finished. One of the pieces is Wind Woman, it's called. It's a native piece. Just for those of you who don't know, I am native. My mother's actually a Mi'kmaq Indian from Newfoundland. And we do belong to a band council and a tribe and all that kind of stuff. But I started her. I did a couple of these pieces already. And so I did a set for my mother. I did the male version of this piece and the female version of this piece. Then I decided I wanted to stitch them for myself. I did the male version of this piece for myself. Now I'm doing the female version of this piece. I will insert a picture of what the chart looks like because I don't have the chart here with me. But this is how far I've gotten. This was a work piece that I had started, and I started it, and I was working on it. And I guess because I've already stitched 3 of them, I just got tired of doing it, and I didn't want to finish it. So this will work into my work rotation once again. I will, at some point, start taking this to work. Probably once I finish the Edgar Allan Poe piece, I'll then go back to this. Because enough time will have passed then, and I'll probably be wanting to stitch this. So my intent is to get back to this in 2016 and get this done. Because this is not a huge stitch, right? Like it really isn't. Compared to what I'm working on, this is not a big stitch. So that's done on 14 count Aida in like an antique cream. Yeah, so I'm gonna take this back to work, and it's gonna become a work piece for me, I think. Next piece. Never-ending whips, right? So, like I said, I hate to have UFOs. Cannot stand it. These are 2 pieces that I found in my stash downstairs that I knew were there, and I was pretending that they weren't there because I did not want to finish them. And I have no idea why. I just got tired of working on them. So, again, these will either work into my work rotation or they will work into my home rotation. I think one of them might be a work rotation and one might be a home rotation. I don't know. We'll see. But I want to finish them, and I want to get them done and framed. Yeah. Because this is just, you know, I can't believe I haven't finished them. So, I really can't believe I haven't finished this one because it is so easy. I think I just got tired of all the back stitching. So this is the first UFO. Footprints in the Sand. I started this probably, I don't know how many years ago. I have no idea how many years ago. Couldn't tell you. Like years ago. I started stitching this, you know, the seashell and the bit of water, the reeds, and then of course is the poem, you know, the story, Footprints in the Sand. I just got tired of stitching all the lettering. I just got sick of it doing it. So then when you get down to the bottom, I still need to finish the rest of this, and then there's some sort of little design that goes here. Yeah. And I think there's something that goes here. Anyway, I need to pull out this chart, and I need to finish this piece, because that's ridiculous. There is no reason that this is sitting in an FFO pile. FFO. There's no reason this is sitting in a UFO pile. It should be finished. Much like Dee's Stitcher. I'm following your lead, Dee. I'm focusing on the finishes for 2016. Okay. This last piece, this is the very last whip I'm going to show you. This is a whip that I started about 18 years ago. Maybe 19 years ago. It's a Paula Vaughn piece, and it came from, I have this book, The Best of Paula Vaughn. It came from this book, and if I can find a picture of it, I will show it to you. I should have had this found before I took my thing out, of course. But I started this, and I just never finished it. And the issue is, well, I'll get into the issue now in a second, but this is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, it's called Sunlights and Silhouettes. All right. That is the piece. And yeah, never finished it. This is how much I have done. How ridiculous is that? It is almost finished, okay? It's almost done. What I have left to do, I have to finish this over here, coming down. I have to finish the quilt that's on the bed and the pillowcase right here. I have some back stitching and a few things to fill in. I have some back stitching to do on the trunk. I think that dress is all back stitched already, yep. I have a little bit of things to finish here with the image in the mirror. And then the last thing I need to finish is this bottom corner, which is going to be the, let's see if I can hold it up better. This bottom corner, this is a quilt that's laid over a chair and a rug. So I need to finish the rug and of course the bottom bit of the mirror here. The mirror needs to be back stitched. So, you know, most of the stitching on this piece is done, but this is sat folded up downstairs in my bin for years and years. And I think the reason I never went back to finishing it is because this was before, you know, I had like easy access to photocopiers and that sort of thing. So I couldn't really make a working copy of the chart. And the chart, I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. This is not the chart, but the charts in this book are all colored high gloss charts. And you can't mark that off as you go, because I'm not ruining that book. So what I need to do now is I need to take this book into work. I need to photocopy to make a working copy of this chart. And then I need to kind of sit down with this piece in my lap and figure out what's stitched and what isn't, and mark it off as I go, and then fill it in. And I think that's really the entire reason that I haven't finished it, is because to sit down now and take the time and go through the chart and figure out what's done and what's not done, that's not fun. That is not fun. I'm not doing that for the same reason that I don't grid fabric. I hate mundane stuff that takes up my time that I really don't need to do in order to stitch. I don't need to grid fabric in order to stitch. Why waste time gridding when I could be stitching? That's my thought process. I know there's lots of people who grid and they love it and they think it's fabulous, and that's great. I'm glad that works for you. Gridding would drive me nuts. It would drive me bonkers. So I don't grid. So, yeah. So yeah, I need to finish figuring out what has been stitched, what is not stitched. That's the hardest part of this program. That's the hardest part of this pattern, this chart, is for me to go back and figure out what I've stitched and what I haven't. And that's what stopped me from finishing it. So I want to work this into my rotation at some point this year. I think what I might do at some point in 2016, I'm going to take that book into work. I'm going to photocopy the chart, and as my work whip for, a week, I will take the time to figure out what I've stitched and what I haven't stitched. And then once I have it figured out, I'll decide whether I want to use it as a work piece or a home piece to get it done. And that is it. That's everything for my Flosstube video today. I've gone through my current whips. I've gone through my work whips. I've gone through my whip rotation. And I've also talked about a couple UFOs that I want to finish. So yeah, that's my plans for 2016. It's going to be a focus to finish kind of year for me because I do have some larger pieces. I really want to get them finished so that I can move on to something else. Because it takes me a long time to get it finished. Because I don't work on small pieces. And I'm not a fast stitcher. Like I'm not a fast stitcher. That's everything I had to talk about. I hope you enjoy your stitching over the next couple of weeks. For those of you that celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever kind of holiday you celebrate during this upcoming December month and season, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy spending time with your families. I hope everything you want you get. And I hope you all have the very best stitching year coming up in 2016. And I'm going to have a lovely Christmas with my family because we do celebrate Christmas. And although I am working Christmas this year, which is, kills me. But I am working Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Boxing Day this year. And that's it. You know, when you do what I do for a living, we don't close. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, anyway, everybody have a great stitching time. Have a wonderful December. And we'll see you soon. Happy stitching.